Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and look, if you're new here, welcome. Now, if you've watched any of my videos so far, you'll notice that quite often I reference a car as my dad daily, but I've never actually told you guys what it is. So I thought today, I think it's probably about time that I showed you the dad daily, and as you probably guessed from the title of this video, it is a BMW 330e. I've had this car for nearly 12 months, so I thought now is probably a perfect opportunity to do a full ownership review. And I can tell you why I ended up getting this car, what I think about it so far, and why I think you should probably consider it as a really good option for a daily, if that's what you're looking for. So let's get into it. So just a bit of background for anyone who isn't aware. Last year I became a dad in November, and at the time my daily was a 981 Cayman, which obviously is not the most practical car for a dad. It's a two-seater sports car with no ISOFIX, and you can't even turn off the passenger airbags. So yeah, kind of had to grow up a little bit, get a family car, and grow up Peter Pan, as I always say to myself. So the budget for this car was around £20,000 to £25,000 last December, which, you know, if you want a new car nowadays, you're not getting a lot for your money anymore. But on the second-hand car market, you know, that kind of budget gets you a hell of a lot of car. So I was deciding between an estate or a saloon. The more I thought about it, as much as I want an estate and it does fit the dad vibe, I didn't really need one. We have a 4x4 in the family, and I feel sometimes with estates, you're just kind of lugging a lot of extra weight around and not really using the space that much. So a saloon made more sense. And I know it's a bit ironic mentioning about weight, given how heavy plug-in hybrids can be, but saloon made the most sense to me. And after doing a bit of searching, it was between a few cars, one of which was the Audi A4. I've had one of the B9 generation A4s before, so I didn't really want to, get back into a car I've already had. The one I had was a pre-facelift, so I appreciate there is a difference, but yeah, I didn't kind of want to, go back to one of those. Variety's the spice of life, isn't it? So, wanted to do something a little bit different. And to be honest, I've never actually had a BMW before, which I found quite odd for me. I thought I would have had one by now. So it was either between a 3 Series or a 5 Series. I know, how imaginative. But with the 5 Series, the G30, it's a lovely car. I think it came out in 2017, but the pre-facelift options, which were easily within budget, starting to look a little bit dated. Exterior is okay, but interior-wise, it's almost a slight generation before this. It still has some similar features, but it's kind of a blend between the F-Series generation and the G20. It's almost like in the middle. So I thought, if I'm going to keep this car for a few years, that infotainment system's going to look a little bit dated. So I kind of discounted the pre-facelift 5 Series. The actual facelift 5 Series for the G30 is stunning. Obviously it is only a saloon car, but I think they did a really good job with the facelift of that. It looks really mean, it looks aggressive. Problem is it was around 27.5 to 30k for the kind of spec I wanted. So a little bit out of budget. And the more I looked at the G23 series, I couldn't really see what more you were really getting for your money. Obviously it is a bigger car, it's a more luxurious car, but for my needs, I couldn't really justify it. So the 5 Series was scrapped. And to be honest, the more I thought about it, the 3 Series was the perfect option. A friend of mine has had one from new when it came out in 2019. I've always been a little bit envious of it. I thought it was a solid, well-equipped piece of kit. So yeah, when I started my used car search for the 3 Series, I obviously looked at the standard options of the 320i and the 320d. I hadn't even actually considered the plug-in hybrid variant of the 330e. And that's mainly because I knew it retailed for a lot more, so just didn't even consider it. But after I started my used car search and delved into it a bit more, for some reason the 330e was coming out a lot cheaper. And I think the main reason for that is down to benefit in kind tax. A lot of people have these as company cars, and this car came out in 2019. So a lot of the leases were coming to an end around sort of, 2023. And as a result, I think the market was just completely flooded with them, so dealers didn't really know what to do. And the second reason is, this is a plug-in hybrid, and I think that kind of unknown puts people off a little bit. With a petrol diesel car, people know how to fix them, they know what they're going to be in for to an extent when it comes to repairs. But yeah, plug-in hybrids they are a bit of an unknown quantity still. There's all sorts of horror stories if you search it online about how much the battery cells cost, etc. And, that kind of put me off a little bit, but when you look at the price difference, I mean, when I bought this was £19,500. An equivalent combustion engine option of a 320i or 320d was about £5 grand more. So for me, the pros really did outweigh the cons. So anyway, the main reason you're here, what do I actually think of the 3 Series? Now, apologies in advance if I just start rambling on again, but as an overarching message about this car, it is fantastic. It's probably one of my most favourite cars I've ever owned. Is it the most exciting? No. You know, is it the most fun to drive? No. But it's just a car that does everything incredibly well. The best way to describe it is it's a jack of all trades, master of none. If you need a car that is a Swiss Army knife, the 3 Series is going to be one. I don't really have much more to say as a summary, but yeah, I just really, really enjoy it. The interior, I think, is fantastic. It's super comfy. The seats, you know, I've sat in them for absolutely hours on end. I actually did a journey from Scotland. It was 4.5 hours. Didn't even stop for a break. I just sat in this seat 4.5 hours. I didn't have a numb arse. You know, I didn't have any aches, any pains. I got out and I felt refreshed, and that's such a big benefit for, you know, a saloon car. There's been plenty of cars I've had in the past where, you know, you do a couple of hours in them and you've got certain cricks in your neck, cricks in your back, you know, your man veg aches, and without going into too much detail, there's, you know, it's quite an underrated feature. The tech is probably one of the best things about the interior of the BMW. By far and away, it's better than all of its competitors. I'm happy to debate that with people, but it's better than Audi, it's better than Range Rover, it's much better than Mercedes. That is one annoying thing about this car. That is one annoying thing about this car. That pre-sense does my head in. Oh my god, it's just done it again. Oh! Sorry. Off. As a car company, except maybe Tesla, I don't think anyone else makes infotainment better. The CarPlay integration in this is fantastic. It's wireless, so, you know, I'll just get in, my phone starts playing the podcast I was listening to previously, don't have to do a thing, and it's just seamless. And again, that's what you want from a daily. So that's the interior. There's really not much more to say about it. It just does everything really well. Everything's where you expect it to be. It's got actual physical buttons, which, you know, is becoming ever more rare, and they've actually got rid of them in the facelift. So yeah, not happy about that BMW. But as far as this generation goes, it's borderline perfect. It's got a scroll wheel, physical buttons on the steering wheel, digital dash, you know, LED lighting. I think there's a few things where they've been a little bit stingy. There are a few, you know, sort of scratchy plastics where they've, you know, cheaped out on stuff. I think for the price, given this was 40 odd grand new at retail, I think it should have electric seats. It doesn't. They're manual. There's also no lumbar support, but that doesn't really faze me too much. You do get these bolsters that inflate and sort of hold you in a little bit, and, you know, they're a nice feature, so they're included. But yeah, they've been a bit stingy with the whole kind of seat function. But look, you can't have everything. I'm going to do a video at some point of things I hate about this and things I love, so that'll come separately. Just trying to do a general overview. Exterior wise, look, I think it's a really, really good looking car. This M Sport Plus pack on it just makes the car look really aggressive and mean. You know, the blacked out grille is OEM. It's got a tiny little boot spoiler as well, which, you know, at the end of the day, it is a plug-in hybrid. You know, you can't jazz it up too much, but the overall styling is just really, really good. One thing that is a bit annoying about the exterior styling is, for some reason, the actual plug for the battery is on this side, so it's the opposite side to your fuel filler cap. I just find that really odd. Like, they obviously have to do it to accommodate it, but the batteries are in the back, so I find it odd that they have to put the plug there. It just means I can't reverse onto my drive and plug in. It's first world problems, but just a little bit of an annoying thing there. So enough about the exterior, interior, etc. You can get that from any car review, but the main reason you're obviously watching this is the fact that I own this and I've lived with it for 12 months. So what's it actually like to live with? And most importantly, what does it cost to run? So I think my main takeaway message from this is only consider one of these cars if you can actually plug it in and use it properly. I've heard of a few people, and I've seen a few reviews on YouTube, which drive me mad, where, you know, they've had the car for 6 months, they don't like it, and then at the very end they tell you that they've never charged it, which means you're just not using it properly. You've pretty much got a 320i with, you know, an extra load of weight in the back, which is the batteries. So don't do that. If you are going to get one, charge it, and honestly, the benefits are almost limitless. If you guys are really interested, I can go into the proper figures you're going to obtain with this car. It's all basically down to the individual though. So I live in quite a rural, hilly area, and I probably average about 28 to 30 miles off the battery pack alone. I think if you lived in a place where, you know, it's very flat and there's no hills, you will probably get a lot more, and you'll get closer to that 38 miles that BMW promises you. But that 28 miles is perfect for me. You know, my commutes when I do them are about 25, and I'm able to charge at work and then drive back 25 miles. And, you know, I've done the whole journey there and back on the battery pack alone. So for my purposes, it works really, really well. So that's the battery. When using actual petrol, you know, the hybrid element of it works really, really well. You know, I'll easily average probably around 120 miles per gallon on a normal journey. Once the battery pack does deplete, then, you know, you're into kind of normal 320i territories of around, you know, 38 to 40. You probably get close to 50 on a long run. But again, that's not the purpose of this car. The purpose of this car is to use it as intended, being a hybrid motor or just purely electric, however long your journey is going to be. But from actual fuel consumption on a month-by-month basis, I guess the easiest way I could put this in perspective for you is this has got a 40-litre tank. So a full tank cost me about, I don't know, 50 quid. I can quite easily not put any fuel in this for 6-7 weeks, and I probably do about 10,000 miles a year quite easily. So that's the level you're dealing with when it comes to how efficient these are. But again, you have to use them properly. And yeah, sorry if I keep banging on about that. So if you use this car properly, you will be rewarded. And, you know, it's going to cost you probably about 50 quid a month to run just on fuel. Other running costs, you know, tax is a bit of a bitch, I'm not going to lie. Because this was over £40,000, it falls into the luxury car tax bracket for the first 6 years. So, you know, I had to pay, I think it was 560 quid last year. I'm going to have to pay 560 quid this year. And then it will go down to the normal £190 VED tax that everyone has to pay and has had to pay since 2017. So that's a bit frustrating, you know, given how sort of economical and, you know, good for the environment this car is. Right now I'm going down a small hill and it's just charging for me. You know, not using any fuel, but for some reason I have to pay the same tax you'd pay on a full-size Range Rover from 2017 onwards, which is a bit of a joke. But anyway, I digress. So we covered fuel, tax, insurance. Insurance is weirdly quite expensive, and I do fear it's going to get more expensive because I know that insurance companies are moving to a new rating system that kind of penalises EVs a lot. So EVs naturally are quite a lot more expensive to repair because, you know, components are more expensive, and you've got to be a bit of a specialist to work on them. This obviously isn't a fully fledged EV, but because it is a plug-in hybrid or a FEV, it kind of falls into that category. So I do fear insurance is going to be a bit more expensive based on this new system. That's just me being sceptical and playing devil's advocate. But I think insurance on this is about £900, which is quite expensive given that my 981 came in to insure for the same mileage, and given I was younger as well, was around, I think, about £750. So that's a bit of a joke, but yeah, what can you do? If you are considering one of these and you're going to be charging it at home, which you should be doing, you should be using it properly. If you don't, I'll come find you. But yeah, if you are going to be doing that, then I'd really recommend looking into an EV tariff with your utility supplier. So I use Octopus, for example, and that gives me a cheaper rate to use the electricity for charging it when I charge at certain times. So I mentioned it in previous videos, but I think I charge between midnight and 4:30 a.m. And instead of it being like 26p per kilowatt hour, it's about 7p. So there's a considerable saving there. Obviously, the batteries aren't as efficient as normal EVs, so if you don't use a decent tariff, in some cases it can be quite expensive to charge. So I'd definitely look into that as an option. As well as running costs, you know, what's this been like with maintenance? So I think this car's done just over 46,000 miles now. So I've done just over 9,000 nearly since I've had it. And the only thing I've had to replace or have repaired was a tyre that got a puncture. So it's obviously not the car's fault. Had to have that changed. One thing that does annoy me, and it's a BMW thing, is they all have run flats. So I'm slowly swapping out the tyres. And I know you shouldn't run different tyres on a car, but I didn't want to pay for a full set when all the others are fine. So slowly changing the corners on it. But yeah, BMW use run flats, and they are quite hard. Thankfully, this has the adaptive suspension, and that is one feature, an option I'd really make sure that your car has. The standard M Sport suspension is a bit firm, so definitely look at that. But general maintenance, you know, I've not had any issues. Obviously the battery element can be a bit scary, but these have up to 6-year warranties with BMW. So, you know, this is 5 years old. It's got another year left. That should give me a bit more peace of mind. You know, if you go on What Car, for example, and search reliable hybrids, the 330e comes out as #1. So again, that should give you a bit more peace of mind. They are reliable cars and you shouldn't have too many issues. You go on Auto Trader, you know, there's options out there where people have done 140,000 miles in them and the batteries still work fine. There's always going to be an element of degradation with batteries. That's unfortunately just how they work. One other thing to probably give you a bit of peace of mind as well is the horror stories online read about the whole battery needing replacing, and that'll cost you 10 or 12 grand. The way I understand it, and I'm happy to be corrected, is that it's very unlikely the entire battery will go. If that happens, it's been a major fault, and it will probably just not happen. But if there ever is an issue with the battery, it's usually down to one cell, and one cell to replace, I think I've seen options online between £500 and £700. So that's a little bit more digestible as far as a repair. So hopefully that won't put you off too much. I think that's all I can really tell you so far. I do plan on having this for quite a while, you know, subject to any issues, which let's put my money where my mouth is. I've just said there won't be any, or hopefully there won't be any. I think if I'm honest, I think the only thing that is going to make me swap this car out at some point is just to the fact that it is quite boring. You honestly couldn't ask for more in a daily, but I just get itchy feet a lot with cars. You know, any of my friends that are watching this will attest that I very rarely have a car more than 6 months, and you know, this one's nearly lasted a year, so it's doing well so far. But yeah, I just like mixing it up a bit. I think the best way I can describe this car to me is clinical, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's like an iPhone. It's well designed, it's robust, it's well built, it does everything you want it to, and it does it well. But that's not really me, you know, in a way. As like a daily for a family, it's fantastic, but I kind of like a bit of character in my life. You know, as you'll have seen from my Porsche 996 videos, that thing is littered with problems, but it kind of puts a smile on my face. So I don't know whether, you know, I should leave it as that, and that could be the fun car, and, you know, this can be a daily, and, you know, you should just have the daily as a tool. I don't know. I keep looking at, you know, stupid 4x4s from the early noughties, like old Cayennes and L322 Range Rovers, but I think in reality I know it's a bad idea. Anyway, I could waffle on for absolutely ages talking about cars that I'd like to buy that any sane person shouldn't do, but I won't do. So that's the 330e, and well, it's my 330e. I feel like I've covered a fair bit there, and I have waffled on somewhat, so apologies for that. But yeah, I've lived with this for 12 months, so I feel like I know it pretty well now. If you've got any comments, any questions about it, do drop those in the comments below. You know, I'm happy to do any videos on this that people want to see, even just bog basic stuff of me going through the infotainment or the quirks and features of it, just so you've got a bit more detail and a bit more information for when you know, go to market and look to buy one, if that's what you wanted to do. Anyway, I feel like that's it, guys. It's 3:22 here on Sunday, and I've got 8 minutes to get home before the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, so wish me luck. If you enjoyed the video, you know, do give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do give that button a little slap for me. It really does help, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.